now.
Morning or good afternoon to wherever you guys might be watching our Formula Track Stars Division 2 F2 racing. We are racing here at the Austrian Ring in the Styrian Hills of Austria, formerly known as the Österreich Ring from the 1970 to 1987. Then it changed the name to the A1 Ring, where we saw plenty of controversy and a lot of battling, a lot of great racing back in the old heydays of Formula 1, before it was bought by Red Bull the following year later in 2004, where Red Bull made modifications to the circuit to be deemed FIA acceptable, and by 2011 we got racing back underway in the ADAC GT3 Cup, in the DTMs, and now most recently Formula 1 and MotoGP. So it's great to have Austria back on the racing calendar these days. But for now, we are live here for Formula 2 racing at Trackstars, alongside with me, who flew virtually all the way from Australia to Austria to join me in the commentary box. It's Jarman Gallitz. How you going?
Yeah, not too bad. A bit of a downer that I can't race tonight, but other than that, pretty good to be here and commentating with you on this race.
Lovely. How was the flight? Did you enjoy the virtual flight to Austria? Did you get catered well?
Yeah, the catering was good. Plenty of drinks.
Yeah. Did you cut your finger by any chance on the flight to Austria?
No, that was before the flight.
That's all right. Well, yeah. So unfortunately, yep, you have delivered the bad news that you cannot race. So who have you got as your confirmed driver for main division?
Yeah, so replacing me in the number 95, It's Racing Esports Honda is going to be Diswood 1, who has had plenty of battles with yourself over the last year or so, and even paired up with you at Bathurst for the Bathurst 1000. So hopefully he'll be up towards the front of tonight's race later on.
Sponsored by Elite Brake and Mechanical, where he actually managed to pick up 2 wins for CP Motorsport, but now he's just he's jumping ship into the It's Racing Esports Honda. But for now, our main focus is Formula 2 qualifying, so we're just about to get underway. Jarman, do we have any idea who might be the pace setter in this one?
Well, I think it would be hard to go past the 3 that were up the front at the last round at the Dragon Trail, and that's of course Cylon 96, who won last time out, and of course we can't forget JMX and Highlander 215 for Gridline Racing as well.
So we have an 8-minute qualifying where we have plenty of debutants in the field tonight, where even last year we brought a lot of debutants to this series, where we actually brought debutants such as Cylon 96, as we mentioned earlier. The Shadon Racing team was born here at Red Bull Ring last year, as well as a Gridline member, Rain King, and a friend of ours, Putz, is Horticulture as well, where he made his debut. So plenty of debuts last year, and also plenty of debuts. We have Benjo, who's making his debut this year in the formulas. We also have Gabans, who is another driver, and Rocket Lily, and Devlin Calypso making his formula debut. And like I said, it's obviously a track that attracts people, Jarman.
Yeah, it's certainly got a bit of a fast pace to it, and corners are reasonably simple, but still enough of a challenge that it sort of sorts out who the good, like the fast and the slow drivers are, that's for sure.
As Dano's just about to start his lap, he's coming up towards the turn 1, up toward Niki Lauda curve, all the way, plucking through the gears on his super softs, just flying through up towards what is a little kink turn 2, but we don't want to call it a turn because it doesn't really exist in our mind, so we call this one turn 2, a hard-braking zone uphill into second gear. But it runs a little bit wide there, so a little bit unfortunate. He might have some dirty tyres and he's going to find that car hard to pull up into turn 3, but he's coming up towards the Styrian Hills, which is a beautiful, picturesque, sunny day. Compared to last week, Jarman, it was a bit wet.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more sunnier this time around, which is going to be a bit more pleasant for the drivers compared to the wet weather we had for the touring cars.
As Dano is rounding up those double left-handers, which is a favourite for Marc Marquez. It's always his favourite, strongest point of the track where he always likes to gain time on his arch rival Dovizioso. And he obviously, at the times, he was ahead leading the race, and then all came down to the last corner, and he just pulled it, and then Dovizioso just pulled an undercut and just overtook him for the victory. But as Dano come across the line on his first flyer, it is a 1 minute 17.4. How does Gabans do? He's only 4 tenths down with Benjo right behind. He's about 2.5, and oh my god, the TCF Old Boy is leading the way, so plenty of action coming along as people are crossing line after their first lap.
Yeah, certainly the times are coming in thick and fast here as we finish off our laps as Highlander crosses the line to go 5th.
But 2 seconds behind his main competitor, Cylon 96 and TCF Old Boy, with Robert Sport in 3rd and J-Max in 4th. So still early days for qualifying, so obviously everyone's just getting a feel for the car and the overtake and the track layout, and most of the time the second flying lap on this game and on these cars, usually you get the best performance out of the tyres.
Yeah, it's certainly the case here as Xylon has put in a blistering lap time to start with. He's 1.2 seconds up on everyone else, and I just saw at the first sector he was another 10th quicker than his previous lap time, so this will be one to follow, see if he can go quicker again.
He's put himself a big margin. Oh, but he's got a bit of traffic there. That's a bit unfortunate. He's still 2 tenths up on TCF Old Boy. He's basically done a centre on Alan Prost with the timing, so that's really good. But he's going to get a little bit held up here by Calypso, but he's using that overtake to his advantage. As he comes towards the inside, he's just maybe run a little bit wide there, so it might hinder him coming up towards that last corner. Unfortunately, oh no, he looks alright, so just using that overtake towards the end. Oh, he's got himself a half second, so very unfortunate there for Xylon 96.
Yeah, it was looking good there for a while, but yeah, just the last corner penalty really hindered him there. And yeah, just enough to stop him from going faster again, but I think he's gone back to the pits, maybe refilling that overtake for another crack towards the end.
Yeah, that's what I think he'd be doing. You can get away with that on the game, so you can just jump out and then jump back in and you have a full tank of fuel, full tank of overtake. And fresh tyres as well. But as we see, our debutant Gabans, who is well known around the Australian racing leagues in Gran Turismo, so he's run a few leagues of his own and just taken a step back away from his racing league. And we were fortunate enough for him to join us, thanks to good friends with his good friend Renegade 4701. Just got a nice. We saw him pop up on the Discord, and now here he is making his debut in the Formula 2 as he rounds up the final corner. Is he going to beat Xylon 96? Is he going to get quicker? He does get quicker, but he's still 2.278 down on Xylon 96 as Dano actually improves his time into 3rd place. How is TCF Old Boy coming? I think he was in the pits before, but he is on his outlap, and he's just about to start his... I'll probably see he's got about 2 laps in him if he keeps it clean.
Yeah, I reckon this will be one to follow along with.
But at the time, they're coming down thick and fast. The Highlanders moved up into 3rd now, with J-Max up into 5th as well. So it is a bit of a tricky track to get them all right, because this track is very notorious for track extending.
Yeah, you've got to really watch your track limits around here, as you soon find yourself running a bit too wide or taking a bit too much curb on a corner apex, and all of a sudden you find yourself with a penalty that you have to burn, and it completely ruins your lap time.
Well, the cars are limited to 600 horsepower and 712 kilos, so you would think a car with that kind of power and weight ratio might be a little bit easier to not track extend, but it's still the case, you know. Everyone's just pushing their cars to the limit, trying to really extract the power out of that car with its overtake. But yeah, again, it's just that tiny little margin, like tiny little twitch on the wheel or on the joystick on the controller, and it can just ruin that lap. But we do see TCF Old Boys just down on the fastest lap to Xylon 96. We're going to keep an eye on this, finishing towards the end of the lap. He's only got just over a minute to go before he does one more lap, rounding up the final corner. He's dropped down to 8th place, but how's he going to end up coming towards the checkered flag?
Remains in 8th place there.
And he's gone up to... Oh, no, sorry, I do apologise. I do have a little bit of troubles on my end of the streaming, so it's really hard for me to see where everything is because it's a little bit lag on my end. But what I did see Saltash Racer 83, who is a debutant in the Formula 2 series, but a familiar name in the main series. As a reserve driver, he's only 0.1 behind Xylon, so he's probably going to give him a run for his money maybe in this race.
Yeah, but I was just following him there, and it looks like he has that lap time is going to be no good, as is the case for Gabans as well. It looks like he's a fair way off the pace of his time, so not many challenges coming forward for Xylon.
Broccolilli's going to get his lap in. He's on pole position. Take a bow, Broccolilli. But I wonder if Xylon 96 is going to start his flying lap. What a lap that was from Broccolilli. It's a great picking up there, Jarman, to find Broccolilli, his debut race in the Trackstars Formula 2 series. Is Highlander going to improve? No, he's not. What about Devlin Calypso? We just saw him across the line. No, he doesn't. What about Mick Ease coming up towards the final end of this track? And we're going to get ourselves, we do have to keep an eye on Xylon 96. He's not far away behind Mick Ease, so we will have to keep an eye out. But as we get to round up towards the final quarter, does Mick Ease improve his time? We'll have to wait and see. But so far it is Broccolilli that has taken pole positions. Mick Ease improve? No, he doesn't. So this is the one, Jarman. Can he improve his lap? Can he beat Broccolilli as they're coming up towards the second last corner? Pushing that number 32 back by Toll for the Mash Spuds racing team. Is he going to get through those last corners? I do kind of see on his timing that it is a little bit down, so unfortunately the pole position, a new pole position, 2 out of 2 different pole sitters in the 2 races. It is Broccolilli by just 0.024 ahead of Xylo 96. Wow, where did that come from? Well, you picked that up perfectly, Jarman.
Yeah, I don't know how I managed it, but yeah, I saw Broccolilli sort of in that top 7 or 8 and thought, well, if he's coming across the line, it's worth checking what his progress is as he comes across. And yeah, pure luck.
Absolutely, but it was great luck. So we have a Broccolilli who's making his debut in the mains, in the second division, with a 1:15.39, taking pole position ahead of championship leader Xylon 96. But looking towards the grid, a full grid of 14 competitive TCF2 drivers. We are here for round 2 at the Styrian Grand Prix. It is Broccolilli on pole position with Xylon 96, Saltash Racer and the debutant Gabans in 4th. Championship contender JMX is down in 7th. So what are we going to be looking for on this first lap, Jarman?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a close one. A good launch into turn 1, and of course a good exit out of turn 1 will set yourself up well for turn 2.
Well, lights out, green flag racing. There's a clean start for Broccolilli. I don't think there's anyone that's left and stuck on the grid. No, so we have a clean start and we're going to have a clean race here. 24 laps around the Styrian Grand Prix. Broccolilli leads the way in his number 13 with Xylon 96. Right behind him, stuck in his lap slipstream with Saltash Racer. Right behind his teammate, who is reserve driver, but he is racing and participating with us tonight. With TCF Oldboy just having a bit of a shocking start, dropping himself down into 9th place. With Mick Ease up in 8th and Dano, who was Oat Dog 88. So we're going to be looking out for names like Dano. Oh, we're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Don't tell me that is going to be possible. But Xylo 96 makes it a great move around the outside of Broccolilli. And Saltash right behind him with his working together as teammates. Going to make it a 1-2 for the Mash Spuds racing team.
Yeah, certainly a good move there from Xylon. Tucked himself well into the slipstream of Broccolilli on the start there and has launched himself and his teammate Saltash Racer up in the 1-2 position and leaving Broccolilli in 3rd place.
100%, and Broccolilli just I think he did run a little bit wide coming up into the top of the turn 3, so he must have just run a bit wide, as he does run a bit wide there, but Saltash Racer is right behind Xylon 96. This main series driver, Saltash, racing alongside, side by side. He's going to take the lead. Yes, he does. He takes the lead away from Xylon 96. But I did see that maybe Saltash might be running an alternate strategy. I think he is on the soft tyres, so I'm just going to double check with that.
Yes, he is. That's a good pick up there.
Oh, I did. So that is a perfect thing for Saltash, because he is on the soft tyres and everybody else is on the super soft. So it's going to be very strategic for Saltash to pull away as quickly as he can in his bright blue and purple SF19 Super Formula, but Xylon is under attack from Broccolilli, who wants to get that position back and claw back from his mistake back on lap 1. But it's right behind him. He's got closely encountered with Gabans and JMX. right behind with a bit of a gap between Highlander and Dano, which Dano actually, who was Oat Dog 88 in the first race, pulled off a bit of a masterstroke there, Jarman, in Seaside, where we saw a big battle for, I think it was third place, and him and Nick Ease, 1, 2, 3, just pulled into the pits and said, you know what, undercut, and we're going to get those positions off you boys.
Yeah, it was a very good move from those two in that last race in Croatia, and yeah, while the cars in front were battling away and taking time off each other, Dano and Mick Ease both decided to go into pit lane and sort of get some clean air.
Just run a little bit thick there, Broccolilli, as you were talking, but he's just going to get tucking right behind, but his Gaban's actually making the move. Is he going to make a move from Broccolilli coming up towards turn 3? No, he doesn't, but JMX goes around the outside of Gaban, so what a lovely move for Gaban's there. Well, let's try and look down towards the grid. I do see a bit of a battle pack between, I think it's TCF Oldboy and all the way down there. Yes, it is. So it is TCF Oldboy who's just holding up the pack, who's holding up Robo Sport, with Hinsey from the sole pit lane esports driver leading the way up inside the top 10, with right behind him Mickey's 1, 2, 3, putting pressure on Hinsey, but he's going to lose that position because Mickey's is going to go around the outside possibly. Two cars can go side by side around here, but Mickey's with a superior grip has got himself up into the top 10. So, wow, plenty of racing up and down the field.
Yeah, certainly plenty of good action going on so far. Let's look back towards the front a bit. I reckon they're sort of starting to bunch up at the first 4 or 5 spots here.
Absolutely, and I do see Saltash Race is just blown away. He's blitzing the field on his debut in the Formula 2 series. So this guy, Saltash Races, won a couple of races in our Porsche Cup series and has been a really high contender in the Formula Track Stars in the previous season.
Yeah, he's certainly put in a bunch of impressive performances in the last year or so, so he'll be one to look out for in this race, and he's certainly showing his class as we speak.
Absolutely, he's just putting that experience to good use, and he only jumped on just about with 5 minutes to go because he was waiting for his partner to come home and look after the kid, and he said, okay, once you come home, I'm going to jump on the sim and I'm going to go racing, and obviously it's worked out for him. He's put almost a 3-second Xylon 96, so maybe it's kind of like do you think it could be kind of like a reality check between Saltash and Xylon on who is the superior driver, or is it too early to call?
I'd say it's too early to call. It's certainly a long series. There's plenty of opportunities for Xylon to make his move across the season, and the same for Saltash as well.
And hopefully for Saltash Racer, as a team boss, we do hopefully get to see as much of him as we can, but we do know he has a newborn on the way in June, so he'll be taking a bit of time off, but hopefully between now and June we get to see him in all sorts of races. So big congrats to Saltash Racer for all the best for his newborn up in June. But as we focus now, he is doing wonders in Formula 2 racing, leading the way from Xylon 96 with Broccolilli in 3rd, Gabans in 4th, with J-Max right behind in the top 5. I wonder if actually Highlander is closing in on JMX, or yeah, he is actually, so pick up on that. This J-Max is just losing a little bit of ground there. He's just finding himself a little bit uncomfortable in these early stages.
Yeah, it's somewhat a similar case to last round, where he got off to a good start, but then sort of faded a bit in the later stages of that first stint, which allowed Xylon to move ahead and build that gap that he needed to take to win.
It's the same battles we saw in the last round in Croatia, where we had JMX and Highlander neck and neck with each other, and basically it's come again in Austria. So one to keep an eye on, that's for sure. And for JMX, it is a track that he loves racing around, the Red Bull Ring. Anytime I see him online and he's racing in an SF19, it's always around Red Bull Ring. So hopefully lobby experience and last year's experience making his debut. I don't think it was his second race last year in the main series at the Red Bull Ring, where he did put on a great performance. So we hopefully get to see the JMX that we do know, the speedy JMX that we do know. He did just get himself a bit of a half-second penalty there, just burning off into the brake zone. Going to be a little bit hard for drivers to do that, because if you do ghost while you're braking and the car behind you gets into that ghost, we do know that it does put drivers off a little bit.
Yeah, I think he might have acknowledged his mistakes there and decided to just back off a little bit in that next straight as well, just to serve the penalty, as you say.
Yeah, and it's a Red Bull Ring is a very interesting track when it comes to track limit penalties and where you actually burn the penalties. So hopefully, well, we do know that we did set up 3 penalty burn zones where it leads up to after turn 1 into turn 2, and then at the top of the hill on the mountains of the Styrian Hills, and then coming down towards the last couple of corners. So 3 burn zones for drivers, but as Gabans runs a little bit wide there, he might be picking up himself half of a second. Yes, he does. I wonder if he's going to pull off to the side and maybe burn it off here, but I don't think so because he's got JMX right behind him. Oh, a bit of ghosting there. So that is the problem with ghosting. Cars can go through them and it just puts drivers off.
Yeah, it certainly is off-putting, and you sort of don't want to drive through a car just in case they unghost, because that'll just cause issues if you unghost and connect together. Can be disastrous.
Yeah, absolutely, it can be. Because I think I do remember one of the races I used to do where we were running penalties. Oh, sorry, I was about to make a comment about the penalties, but Xylon must have got himself a penalty by running off onto the gravel trap. So a little bit of trying to push a bit too hard to catch Saltash Racer, but I think for Saltash, he was on the soft tyres, and Xylon, I think Xylon might be pushing his car maybe a little bit too much to the limit and not actually catching up to Saltash. So it's a bit of a struggle streak for Xylon. So hopefully on his next stint, he might be able to close the gap.
Yeah, I haven't done too much running with these cars, but occasionally you can find that the super soft isn't that much quicker than the soft tyre. So this might be one of those tracks where there's not much benefit between the 2 tyres, and you can run the soft really hard and get a similar pace.
Not wrong, and the strategy, well, as I said, the strategy is racing super softs and racing soft tyres, but if you get to see Brock and Lily going side by side with Cylon 96, just defends well, but Brock and Lily's going to be hard on that overtake to overtake Xylon 96, but yes he is, he's on that overtake really hard. Will Xylon defend coming into turn 3? Yes he does, he pulls to the right, but Brock and Lily's getting that slipstream, he's going to pull himself even further right and make a move on Xylon 96. Oh, Xylon 96 a little bit later on the brakes, but still side by side, Xylon 96 and Brock and Lily going side by side coming up towards turn 6, which is a double left-hander. Is he going to get a move around the outside? No, he doesn't. Just tucks in behind Xylon, but he's going to make a move on the inside. Oh, he almost makes a move on Xylon, but that's definitely put Xylon off, because Brock and Lily's going to make a charge again onto this last couple of corners here. Is he going to make a dummy move towards the inside? Nope, he'll just stay right behind him and just use the straight. Oh, Xylon actually comes into the pits. I did just catch there. Yes, he does. So he just thinks the super softs are just not working for him.
Yeah, he's made an early move into the pits. We'll see how this pans out for Xylon, but some good racing there between Xylon and Broccolilli. They did well to avoid a Hamilton Albon situation down at turn 3.
Exactly right, and this new pit stop, I was just about to make mention of the new pit stop rules. The pit lane ruling, this one is actually a lot longer compared to the last races we saw at Croatia, so strategies are going to be very key for drivers coming into the pits and then coming out, because roughly the loss is about 20 seconds, so for drivers coming in and transiting the pit lane and jumping out of the pit lane, it's going to be a bit of a hard one to calculate when to pit, when is the right time to pit.
Yeah, it's a very tough one to deal with, and I sort of actually commend PD for actually making sure that it sort of becomes a bit more realistic with the pit lane times than what it used to be, because a 4-second pit stop travel through pit lane certainly made things a bit of a joke, if you ask me.
Yeah, you definitely had a few of those at Suzuka, didn't we? With you can tell everyone how ridiculous the pit lane transit was at Suzuka.
Yeah, Suzuka's probably one of the worst ones, where you jump through the pit lane and get a fresh set of tyres, and 4 laps later you could jump through the pit lane again and get another fresh set of tyres and just keep making up the difference.
Exactly, it was a little bit ridiculous there, but I think like you said, we can commend PD for actually giving us what hardcore racers wanted, which was actual longer transit times in the benefits.
Yeah, that's certainly right. To that effect, even what they used to have, it still beats what we get from Project Cars 3 and the grid games from Codemasters.
Exactly. But as we look down, towards the grid, I do see the early contenders of last time out, Dano and Mick Keys. I wonder how far they are from Robo Sport. I wonder if they actually pulled themselves a bit of a gap. Actually, they're a little bit more spread out. So I don't think these guys going to have the luxury of what they had last time out in Croatia. But it's still only lap 10 of 24, so it's still early days.
Yeah, certainly a bit of work to be done by Dano and Mickey's, as they're a bit behind Robo Sport. I'm sure they'll still be looking for a solid points haul tonight, as I think that might be Robo Sport heading into pit lane.
Yes, it is. Good pick up there.
As is Highlander and JMX.
Highlander and JMX. Okay, so this will be a bit of an interesting battle between JMX and Robo Sport and Highlander. So I think JMX was ahead of Highlander, so I think he'll be coming out the pit lane first with Highlander just right behind him. So JMX has gone, yes, he has gone soft tyres, and Highlander's gone super soft. Now, we did see with Xylon's car, he only did 8 laps on the super soft, so like you said, you have to transit the pit lane once, but do you think we might see cars coming into the pit lane again?
It's possible to do a 2-stop, but I do think the degradation from the racing soft would suggest that maybe only a 1-stop is possible. As you have a look at what Soltash is doing, and the wear's not very high there, but of course he's out in front managing the race, so he might be taking a little bit more easy with his tyre wear.
Yeah, and a 10.7 lead ahead of Gabans, and Broccolilli he's definitely making those super soft tyres work really hard. So he's got a little bit of wear on the front, so probably suggesting he's got a bit more front end braking. But as he maybe to lean to get the balance right, maybe has to drop it down to the rear. As we see a newcomer as well, we didn't talk about this, I do apologise, Venti Supersoft, who was a friend of TCF Old Boy, rocking out the Lewis Hamilton Mercedes Powers, he actually did win the Styrian Grand Prix in 2020 in that nice tribute livery that supports races all around the world. So it was a big step for the Silver Arrows to change the car to a different colour, but I guess it's just for a good cause.
Yes, certainly right there, and I think there would have been a lot of work there from Venti Supersoft to get all those Mercedes decals plastered all over that car too.
Absolutely, and he is a friend of TCF Old Boy, where they do race each other in the Formula 1 2020 leagues over there. So I think it was a nice little gift, a little bit of a sending the invite towards him, say, we've got Formula Racing here on Gran Turismo, so why don't you come join us and have a bit of fun as well, try and tackle these cars compared to the main Formula cars and the main Formula 1 cars and the F2 cars. So very different physics between the games, but hopefully it's a learning curve for him if he does stick around.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll slowly get the hang of it. It is a bit of an adjustment going from one game to the other, but I'm sure it's something that will definitely be possible to achieve.
100%. And because this season, this series offers no tuning at all, so because the drivers are really pretty much 79% on the throttle all the time, and basically it's a really hard stress on the tyres and the engine, because it's all about just trying to keep that engine cool and trying to make sure you get enough clean air, because going in behind drivers, you do pick up a lot of dirty air. As I've noticed myself driving around the second sector, the dirty air really kicks in.
Yeah, that's really tough with the dirty air. It sort of takes away some of that front end grip that you need to negotiate corners a bit better than you want to.
Absolutely. As we did see, Xylon and JMX close to each other, 6 and 7, so drivers ahead still have to pit. But I will say this, Xylon is only 28.9 seconds behind Soltash, so he really needs to get a bit of a move on if he wants to close the gap towards Xylon 96, and JMX is not really helping his cause.
Yeah, I'm just having a look to see who's off track there.
Oh,
looks like
Venti
Supersoft.
Venti Supersoft has just made a bit of an off there. We might be able to catch a replay. I wonder if he got a bit of it done in his own. Oh, we've just missed that, but I don't think there are any drivers there that would have pushed him off. I think he was all on his own.
Nah, I think he was a fair
Unfortunately.
bit away from the group in front, so
Yeah.
we'll have to say that's probably a bit of a on his own mistake. As JMX
Yeah.
looks down
Oh.
the inside of Xylon here. And
Oh,
looks
he's,
like
he's
he-
made a move. He's just run a little bit wide, but Xylon just does get a little bit flustered there. Side by side, the two teammates, JMX and Xylon 96, who are 1 and 2 in the championship, as we remind you, ladies and gentlemen. Side by side, Xylon and JMX. Are they going to hold around? Who's going to be the latest? It is JMX. I do apologise. Oh, he's run a bit wide there, JMX. Is very unfortunate. He just picked up himself on the marbles. Might be able to catch a replay of that quickly before we jump to Saltash in the pits. But that was very unlucky there. Just caught himself on the marbles.
yeah, I think he was being a bit too generous to Xylon there and just ran a bit wide and kept going wide and off
Oh.
into the gravel.
Oh, that is very unlucky for JMX there, just pushing too hard. But as we do see Saltash Racer 83 in the pits, as we see Gabans and Broccolilli in her 1 and 2. But where is Xylon 96 compared to Saltash Racer? I wonder if he's getting close. Saltash is just pulled ahead, but he's only about, if I can read clearly, that is 6.5 seconds ahead of Xylon 96. So Saltash has definitely cleared that margin.
Actually is 8.7 now as we speak, so
8.7. Okay.
so a bit more of a margin than what you were suggesting, but still
Yeah.
a handy one nonetheless.
So that battle between Xylon and JMX is really hindering each other there. So a little bit unfortunate, but Saltash did make his pit stop. 10 laps to go. He's going to be on the Super Softs, and he's going to make those tyres go all the way to the end. So if Xylon puts his head down, and now he's got a bit of clean air, but he does have a bit of dirty tyres on him, so he's just going to have to really dig deep and just try to close the gap to Saltash, because if he doesn't close the gap, this guy, Gabans in the 34, the independent driver, is going to cause trouble for Xylon.
Yes, very much so, especially with that battling going on between the two. It could play into Gaban's hands right here. As Broccolilli now inherits the lead through this pit stop too.
Absolutely, and as we see Broccolilli just taking that lead, and with Saltash right behind him, so I wonder what the gap is. It's telling me on the screen that Xylon is ahead, but we do need to see on track what it is actually like, because sometimes the game doesn't really represent how far ahead. Oh, he is actually gained a fair margin, so that overcut that Gabans has made on Xylon 96 has worked to perfection. So I will be thinking that Gabans is going to make a move on Xylon 96, which has cost Xylon. As we do see Gabans just running a little bit wide there, but he hasn't got much overtake compared to, I do believe, I want to see the difference between the overtake between Xylon and Gabans. Oh no, even. So it's going to be strategic on who is the fastest between those two.
Yeah, they're going to have to choose their overtakes wisely and make sure that they use it to good effect as well, rather than just wasting it.
As Xylon did come in the pits at the end of lap 8, starting on lap 9, and he's been on those tyres for almost just over 8 laps, so he's going to be feeling it compared to Gaban's fresh tyres. They've just come out of the pits, so he's got work on his hands, Xylon, to keep the lead, or to keep third place.
Yeah, it's certainly going to come under attack from Gabans on these fresher tyres, but I'm sure with the little wear to be there, I'm thinking that he might be able to hold on to this.
We'll have to wait and see, because Gabans was quite pacey at the start of the race between Xylon and Broccolilli and Saltash races, so we will have to keep an eye on Gabans. Can he get a podium on his debut race in the Trackstars Formula 2 Series, where Broccolilli is leading the way, but yet has to make a pit stop? So I wonder if he's going to do basically what I remember likely Wise Aker did last year, where he ran with 5 laps to go, just jumped into the pit lane and just ran those tyres for 5 laps.
Yeah, it's definitely a good strategy call there, but it may not quite be enough to bridge the gap to Saltash Racer. Though,
No.
just looking at the gaps between Saltash and Xylon's sort of yo-yoing between 9 and 10 seconds gap, but I think it's
Yep.
starting to push out a bit more now.
Yep, and as we do see Broccoli coming into the pit, so the official race lead will go to Saltash Racer 83 with a 10.5 second lead over Cylon 96, changing his tyres to go from super soft to soft. So this could be a really wise strategy. Just two lap overcut on Gabans, so it'll be a good battle between those two. But he is a fair back from Gabans there, and he's just come out behind JMX there up into 5th place. So a lot of work to do for Broccoli, but he can do it. We do know, we have seen his performance in the Trackstars Endurance Series where he did put up a good fight in his BMW M6 and can race with the pack.
Yeah, he's certainly done well in the Endurance Series so far. Obviously making his debut here in the the Trackstars Formula 2. Different type of racing, but judging by qualifying and his performances in the race, he's certainly adapting to it very well.
Absolutely, and because he did pull in a stellar lap time, we thought was going to go to Cylon 96, and it turned out it was actually Broccoli who got the pole by just a very fine margin. So really playing with that car and obviously getting a lot of practice in during the week and just finding that sweet spot, and he nailed it.
Yeah, he's definitely run wide there though, so see whether that's a penalty. I know I did follow you a couple of times last week in the touring cars, and that became a penalty for you. What's going on here?
What's going on with Broccoli? Do you know what? Did he make a mistake where he didn't actually put the super softs on?
Yeah, I think he has made a mistake here. He's accidentally put the super softs on instead of the soft tyres.
Oh no! See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we had last year at round 9 at Fuji, where XX Huzo, the series champion of 2020, and Ando787 tried to do an ambitious 2-stop, but it actually turned out to be a mistake of a 2-stop. So this has really hurt Broccoli, who was in the top 5, and I'm really unfortunate for the Broccoli fans out there because he does have a big following on Twitch. So hopefully, hopefully he gets get close to Mickey. It's up in 8th place, but a really big shame for Broccoli. It's just those fine mistakes that drivers do make.
Yeah, and it happened to the best of them, as we saw in the Sakhir Grand Prix last year with George Russell. The best teams of them all can still make mistakes like this and put the wrong tyres on the wrong cars, so it's easily done, and I'm sure Broccoli's going to get his head down again and push on and see whether he can catch Mickey's and maybe make up a spot or two in these closing laps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit heartbreaking there for Broccoli because we were actually commentating on thinking of he might be able to catch JMX, but I think JMX has got himself a big gap between him and Highlander, so I think JMX has got 4 secured, with Robo Sport in 6th place, with Dano in 7th, Mickey's in 8th, and a sad 9th for Broccoli. But hopefully for him, as we do see JMX making a move on worn tyres on Gabans, he does make it stick, so beautiful move. Jarman, I don't want to gloat here, but it's a Mash Buds 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, well, you were just saying he had 4th place sewn up, and I was about ready to correct you and say, well, the podium could still be on here as he's in very close distance.
Oh, just a little bit of a bright moment there as a team boss, but JMX has got 5 laps to go, but Cylon has pulled away from Gabans, which is really crucial for Cylon, just for his charge towards the championship in season 2021. But with JMX right up in 4th place on the back of Gabans, I wonder if Gabans might be struggling a little bit. Maybe his tyres are not adapting to these conditions or to his driving style.
Yeah, maybe he didn't quite put in the practice on the racing softs that he did on the super softs, and that might affect him a little bit. Maybe there's not as much confidence to use the tyres as other drivers have, or maybe just isn't quite getting the most out of them too.
Yeah, or Gabans runs a little bit wide there. I wonder if he's going to get himself a half-second penalty for that. I think if a car really makes a mistake and the back end of the car does twitch out, you do get away with it because you do get yourself, in theory, a penalty because your car stepped out wide. But I want to just look down the grid. I want to find drivers like Hinsey, TCF Old Boy. Where are those guys at? So TCF Old Boy is up into 10th. Is that Hinsey right?
Hinsey's just behind.
Hinsey's in 11th place, so we haven't been keeping an eye on the pit lane esports drivers, so we do apologise, Shane Kent, if we haven't given you guys much camera time for your boys. But Hinsey down at 11th, and substitute driver Devlin Calypso It's just a bit of a fair way back between him and Hinsey, so it's just practice laps for Devlin because he is replacing JC123. We do actually have a couple of drivers here that are being substitute drivers for the main race.
Yeah, of course we've got Devlin Calypso who's jumping in as a substitute. I'm trying to rack my brains now and see who the other one is.
I believe it was Mick Ease who is driving the... So Mick Ease will be driving the EBN Motorsport Honda, and I believe that is it. So, whoa, hang on, we've got a great pickup there, Jarman, as always. Xylon96 just must have made a mistake there, and it's just going to be a three-way battle for third place. Is JMX going to make a move? He's just got into that ghosting period. Oh, careful, JMX. He's inside. Oh, JMX has spun out, so we had said this, ladies and gentlemen, the ghosting does affect you when it comes into cornering, so we might check a replay of that. Just that ghosting between JMX and that penalty, that's really cost him.
Yeah, it's one of those things where some of these rules and regulations are outlined not only for the benefit of others and to keep everyone on the straight and narrow, but also to make sure that you don't have your race ruined as well by not following the rules.
Absolutely, and it has ruined JMX's chance of being on the third step of the podium, or even the second step, because it could have been a Mash Buds 1, 2 and 3, but just a mistake like that where he just get caught up in the ghosting, obviously maybe didn't read the burn zones in that main corner, because if he backed off, he probably could have still been in this battle that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it's probably better off to take a little bit of pain at that point and
absolutely
burn your penalty correctly.
He gets a beautiful run on Xylon96 coming out of turn 1, but as it goes side by side, where is it going? Left and right. Xylon's going to go defensive, and he's just a little bit of weaving there. Some good hard battling between Xylon96 and Gabans. Mash Buds Racing versus Gabans Racing. As he's coming up towards the top of the hill, up the Styrian Hills, using that overtake. Oh, actually, no, he has no overtake at all, so he's just going for broke now. As he starts to make a move, think about going a move on the outside with fresher tyres. Can he make a move around the outside? No, he doesn't. He's going to tuck back in behind Xylon96, which I think Xylon maybe has a little bit more. No, he doesn't. So they're both running on fumes with overtake. So it's all about just wherever you place your car and how much throttle application you put on the track. It's going to be won or loss on the track.
Looks like Gabans has no overtake left, but Xylon still has a little bit there, so might be a smarter move to just hold on to the overtake and use it on the final lap.
No, it doesn't make a move there. Does anyone run wide? No. Xylon96 is coming around the final corner where we are actually approaching the last lap, Jarman. I have been keeping an eye on the lap counter, but it is, we do apologise, Saltash Racer 83 with a 20.7 gap between Xylon96. Wow. Outstanding performance by the reserve driver and Saltash Racer 83. So we do want to keep an eye on him when he crosses the line, but we do want to keep an eye on this battle. It is the final lap, Xylon96 versus Gabans. Unfortunately for JMX not to be a part of it, but Xylon96 outbrakes and coming into that second corner. Gabans has a little bit of ghosting, so he's going to play to his advantage there. And Xylon's going to use that little bit of overtake where it's 21.3 seconds between Saltash and Xylon. So this battle pack is red hot as Xylon's is going to defend up to the last corner for Xylon and Gabans. It might be a Marc Marquez Dovizioso, but what I do know is a very Lewis Hamilton-esque drive for Saltash Racer 83 in the 83 Mash Buds Racing entry. Coming around the final corner, turn 10, it is a win for Saltash Racer 83 for the Toll and Ultrapack Mash Buds Racing car. So congratulations. I mean, look towards this battle pack, Jarman. I don't know who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, this is a very close one here as Xylon leads through the last couple of corners with Gabans all over the back. It's going to be all about the corner entry. They're going side by side here.
Is it going to get out in front? It is Xylon96 taking out second place ahead of Gabans in third place. Wow, Gate Racing and JMX up into fourth place, who has cost himself dearly with that ghosting there. But Robbo Sport up into fifth place. So a great result for Robbo. We didn't catch that one. We overtook Highlander in fifth, with Mick Ease in 7th and Dano in 8th, where there were the great strategies last time out, but no great strategies tonight for them. But Broccoli Lily, we have to talk about him towards the end of the race. An unfortunate event for Broccoli Lily. There's TCF Old Boy rounds out the top 10 with Hinsey right behind in 11th place, with Devlin Calypso in 12th and 13th place Benjo GLR 19 with Venti Supersoft rounding up the top 14. Whew. Wow, Jarman, what a battle for that last lap.
Yeah, the last 2 laps even, that was some great. Actually, I should correct myself again and say the last 3 laps because we had that battle with JMX as well in there,
Well,
and then also, oh, I'm getting really bad on names here. Gabans and Cylon both going at it for the last 2 laps on top of that.
Absolutely. So it was a very close battle between It's Racing and sorry, that's not you. My apologies. Between Saltash Racer, who takes out the victory for 21.8 seconds. So a dominant performance by Saltash Racer. I would say very Hamilton-esque and Sebastian Vettel-esque driving for Saltash there, with Cylon 96 rounding up second place just ahead of Gavan. So a great duke between those guys, but unfortunately for JMX, caught out by the ghosting, is down in 4th place and 5 seconds behind Gaban. So what could have been for JMX and for the Mash Spuds racing team?
Yeah, very, very tough one there for JMX, and maybe prove costly for Mash Spuds Racing 1, 2, 3, but 4th place is still a very good effort.
4th place is a very solid effort for JMX. He shouldn't feel down on that, but he did do a great job to get 4th place. As we look down, in 9th place, we do have to talk about this guy, Brock O'Lely, put in a great performance to take the lead and take out pole position, but just a pit lane error. So unfortunate for him, because we could have been seeing him, I don't know, racing JMX and Gabans for the podium.
Yeah, he was certainly in that top 5 conversation after that pit stop, and we were looking at him to see whether he'd maybe make a move and make a couple of spots with the overcut and the fresher tyres towards the end, but as it turned out, he made a mistake with the pit stops and put the wrong tyres on and forced himself back in the pit lane for another set of soft tyres.
So very unfortunate for Brock O'Lely, but it is not unfortunate because Saltash Racer takes out the win in round 2 of the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring here in Austria. So as we round up the grid, we do have JMX in 4th, RoboSport Racing, a great performance for RoboSport, a very quiet race for Robo in 5th place, with Highlander in 6th, Mick Hayes, who will be now taking over the role at EBM Motorsport in Division 1, where he claimed 7th place, and now he's going to step into a higher power car with Dan 08 in 8th place, with Brock O'Lely 9th, TCF Oldboy in 10th. Down the grid, we do have the Pit Lane Esport guys, Hinsey 1982, Devlin Calypso in 12th, the second entry of Gridline Racing, Benjo GLR 19, with Venti Supersport rounding up the top 14. So, Jarman, what can we take out of this event between the guys? Are we going to see, do we hope to see Saltash Racer come and join us every time we race?
Yeah, I think if Saltash is on the grid, he's going to be the one to beat, that's for sure. And of course, we've got Xylon that's put in another second place finish. So he'll be certainly racking up the points there on his quest for the championship.
Absolutely, and he was very well known for taking second places in last year because we had one dominant driver and likely Wyatt. But now I think now it is Xylon's time this year to make a move towards that championship goal, where he will hold a lead over JMX, who was down in 4th, but still a Mash Spuds 1-2 in the championship. But we can't leave behind a great performance that was Saltash Racer 83. Just by lap 4, he just made a move and bang, just pull away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He certainly showed he was a class above tonight, and maybe some of the other teams outside of Mash Spuds Racing might be looking a bit closely and seeing if they can lure him away.
And as we wrap up tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you for joining us here at Trackstars Formula 2 Racing, where we brought you live at the Red Bull Ring in Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix Round 2. As we get ourselves ready, in 10 minutes time, the lobby is going to be opening up for the main series for the Formula Trackstars, where it'll be Mash Spuds Racing and Spud P666 leading the way in the championship, holding off a solid points position ahead of It's Racing, who unfortunately, which is yourself, won't be racing. So it'll be Diswood right behind him, and other contenders such as Lurox 22, can think of V Papa AT. Many drivers are going to be taking a charge towards that championship, towards that round win and Trackstars Formula Series. But as we wrap up tonight, Jarman, any final words about your team, about your drivers, about tonight?
Yeah,
for tonight?
I'm certainly looking forward to it. I think I'm gonna have to give a little bit of a tune up to the drivers and maybe a few tips on strategies and so on. But yeah, other than that, I think place a bit of faith in them, and I think both Diswood and Justin will be looking forward to a great result, hopefully.
As we sign off tonight, on behalf of myself and Spud P666 and Jarman Dallitz, it's racing. We bid you guys good night and farewell, but stay tuned for the main series commented by the one and only Adam Weller. 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time, so in an hour's time you'll be watching the stream, so stay tuned on the YouTube page and like us on Facebook. We're a Trackstars Racing Series, and join our friendly Discord, our Trackstars Racing Series community, where you will get to, even yourself will be able to race in the Formula 2 series or in the main series if you get a call up. But on behalf of us and the rest of the Formula 2 grid, we bid you guys good night and farewell for the next round.